I left home just before 6 a.m. this morning on what at the time felt a bit like a fool's errand. Why was I trekking up to Bolton to watch a town side who had left me and so many others disappointed and disillusioned over recent weeks? It was a valid question, and to be honest, I would have struggled to give a logical answer. All I could come up with was, what else was I going to do on a Saturday afternoon other than watch town? I wasn't expecting anything other than an arse-kicking by at least a couple of goals. I even committed my prediction to Facebook, so there is evidence of my lack of faith. Thing is, I know I wasn't the only person who was expecting yet another afternoon of despair. You can only wear blue and amber tinted glasses for so long. Eventually you have to take them off and see the world for what it is. You all know what happened by now, so you can understand why I'm feeling relieved, surprised, and definitely grateful that we came away with a point. Whether we truly deserved it is open to debate, but when football offers you an iffy point, you grab it with both hands. After what feels like weeks of me and others wondering why the hell we weren't playing two up front today, our wish was granted. I'd still love to know why it took so long. Marquis finally made the starting 11 alongside Lloyd, and just behind them was Shippers, another who had disappeared into the ether for a while. They say be careful what you wish for, but I was damn certain this lineup couldn't do any worse than the last half dozen. We finally looked as though we had something resembling an attack. OK, Pierre back in defence was a tad worrying, but if this was going to be a scrap, he's the bloke you need. I was well chuffed to see Nurse finally back. It's been a long haul for the lad, and he deserves a chance. 'Twas sunny and blowy as the team set about their work. The Blue Amber Army yet again putting the opposing fans to shame, lustily singing their heads off. It's fair to say it was a busy opening 5 minutes, with both sides trying to put down a marker. Nurse had the first attempt worthy of the name after Feeney set him up. This was followed by a Marquis header which went wide. Look what happens when you play attackers up front. I always thought football was a simple game. Mr. Oldham, who was to prove to be yet another incompetent offering off the referee conveyor belt of mediocrity. He booked Aaron for a mistimed assault after 15 minutes, which was a slight cause for concern. Despite this, Town were gradually starting to dominate proceedings and looking, dare I say, half decent. In the 20th minute all the pieces fell into place. Following a rare productive corner, a scuffed shot from Morgan Feeney fell to his namesake Josh, who swiveled as though he was on casters to hit a low shot beyond southward. That really upset the knuckle-draggers in the family stand. It does make me question modern parenting when you see adults encouraging 10-year-olds to make obscene gestures. But it is Bolton after all. The lead was well-deserved, and just to show they meant business, Town kept pressing. None of the drop-deep pass sideways we have all become accustomed to. It was almost enjoyable to watch. Remember the Bayliss Shippers belter at Reading? Well, in the 28th minute, we were treated to another one. Ojo took a corner which found an unmarked Shippers on the edge of the box. He dispatched an absolute screamer just under the bar to make it 2-0. Salop were now in uncharted territory, 2 goals up away from home. What do we do now? To their credit, they kept going forward, trying to capitalise on the disarray in the home side. Bolton were shaken, there is no doubt about that. I reckon they thought 3 points were theirs for the taking, and now we had urinated on their box of fireworks. They did threaten to a point with efforts from Adenojo and Johnson, but Salop went in deservedly leading. The question was, would they be able to hold on? The consensus amongst the Salopian intelligentsia at half-time was that we needed to keep it tight for 20 minutes and not concede. Simples. So what happened 2 minutes into the second half? Town leave themselves open at the back, and a combination of Charles and then Dempsey make it 2-1, despite a fair suspicion of offside. Certainly not what was needed. Bolton were building a head of steam, and we were struggling to find a response. Cue the dark arts. It was reminiscent of a game at Pompey back in Hurst's first reign, when Town took a lead and then proceeded to niggle their way to the final whistle. Shippers went down and stayed down after what looked like a severe gust of wind. Unfortunately for him, he did get genuinely clattered moments later and had to be replaced by Leo Constantine. Time wasting could soon be worthy of becoming an Olympic sport. There are so many possible variations. It was becoming an exercise in self-preservation for Town, a real backs-to-the-wall job as Bolton began to tease and torment. Sobalt and Dempsey weren't a million miles away, and the same pair carved out the equaliser on the hour. Dempsey sweeping home at the far post. Now it was time to panic. Town were being run ragged and defending for all their worth, blocking and battling for every ball. It was like the Alamo minus the sombreros. Chances came and chances went. Savin made some excellent blocks and saves. His teammates threw themselves around like 9 pins. Nurse cramped up and was replaced by Mal Benning, and Savin was booked for taking an eternity with a goal kick. Bolton were relentless and must be kicking themselves as to how they didn't score once from the myriad chances they created. The nearest Town came to anything like a chance, let alone a goal, didn't arrive until the 85th minute. If Mr. Oldham had been up to the job, it could have been more than a free kick 20 yards out. He failed to play advantage when Ojo was clean through and dragged play back for no good reason. Leo's free kick was okay, but nowhere near as good as a one-on-one 10 yards out. The final minutes of the game were one-way traffic towards Savin and his protectors. I lost count of who missed what, but take my word for it, it was a lesson on how not to finish from the Bolton players. At the final whistle, that lovely man Ian Everett lost his cool and went forehead to forehead with Morgan and got himself sent off. It was fully deserved and worthy of a lengthy ban. The celebrations in the away end were heartfelt, and the disappointment at throwing away a 2-goals lead partly forgotten. It was one of those days where any point was very welcome, and especially as it was against the odds. I hope we persist with the 2 up front. I can't see why we wouldn't, and hopefully Shipper's ankle isn't as bad as it looked. We are still in the mire wallowing, but a few more performances and results like today will certainly shift the mood on and off the pitch. Until next time, Floor eats Salopia.